Welcome to Stonk Insights, your one-stop shop for stock and crypto analysis and discovery. In today's video, we have a special guest today. We have Wedergarten, who is a blockchain entrepreneur. He is the lead developer of ClassicSwap, which is a decentralized exchange that's coming to the Ethereum Classic blockchain. So we're going to be talking about that, just going through some things there. Okay, so how you doing today?
Good, you man?
Good, good. Seems like the crypto
Awesome.
gods are against us here, so
Yeah,
we think
it's
we got
crazy.
it worked out right now, so we're gonna get right into it. So let's just first
Perfect.
start with, can you give us a brief, background of yourself, as far as crypto goes, and I know that you were in some type of project called Expansion Cash, so can you just elaborate on all that?
All right, so first of all, I kind of got into crypto, starting in January of this year. I had a little bit of price check-in and stuff before that in 2019. I remember looking at Litecoin a little bit on vacation,
Right.
but didn't go anywhere. So in January of this year, I bought my first $50 worth of Litecoin, and so everything kind of just stemmed from that. I joined a bunch of communities, especially on Discord. Lots of great people on Discord, and somehow I ended up in the Expanse community. It's a side chain. It's the first Ethereum side chain. So that's how I ended up there. It's a small project with a ton of devs. Not that many devs. I mean, and it's a great project. Nobody really knows about it. So I went there, and they have a Dex called XSwap. And I kind of joined the bandwagon. They have like a XSwap farm and all that stuff. But the main problem that I saw there was that on their farm is they would have the APYs. You see this with a lot, basically every staking place that there is. That you're going to see that the APYs are changing every single day, and I really didn't like that because I knew that it's going to harm my gains over time. So I was
Right,
like,
right.
okay, let's get it. Let's do something. Let's get a team together. Let's put something together, and so I came up with Expanse Cash, and so I worked hard on that. It took a while. I had a bunch of teams, and you don't see too many custom farms these days built just how I did. I made all the smart contracts, and I had people do all the Web3 integrations. It's tough stuff. So if you go to exe.farm, you can see that farm. And so the way it works is that every single day you get 0.5% APY or ROI per day, and so that's how that's built up. And so it's better than XSwap. And so we do plan on taking that farm and actually changing a few things about it, but almost directly cloning it to ETC for ClassicSwap and making some changes to the ROIs. But it was a great project. There was just not enough users, and it's too bad, but that's just what it is. But here we are. We have ClassicSwap. And
Right.
so after that, it took a few months. We had the big crypto dip, so I was of course I was keeping an eye on everything, but motivation goes down a little bit during that time.
Yeah.
But I had ClassicSwap. That was an idea since basically the launch of Expanse Cash. I knew that I loved ETC. I had the big pump to 180. I was there. I had started
Wow.
accumulating ETC just because I knew it was a good project, and I was like, okay, well, look, if I hold this for 20 years, it'll be good. I kid you not, 2 weeks later, that. Anyways, I made a lot of gains on that, and I knew that I was going to stay with this network for as long as I possibly could. And I love the code is law and all that sort of stuff. So that's big for me.
Right on.
Um,
Right on.
yeah, and so I made Expanse Cash, and now I'm working on ClassicSwap. That's how that is.
Nice, nice. So, I looked at your Twitter, I don't know what the term means, but you're a solidity developer, correct?
Yes. So Solidity is basically doesn't apply to all blockchains, but any Ethereum, like the code base of Ethereum blockchains, that's where I can code. And Solidity is basically how you write a smart contract for any Ethereum chain. So I did that for Expanse, and now I'm doing it for mainly for the crowd sale, as we're using a lot of already made code, especially for the farm and Uniswap for the Dex itself. But it is definitely one of those codes that not many people know how to write in. And I would say maybe there's 200 people on the planet who really know the ins and outs of Solidity.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm proud to say that I'm part of that amount of people. I don't know exactly how many because it's hard to tell with all the decentralization, but it's a tough language. But once you get into it, I would recommend to people to learn that because it's in huge demand.
Very interesting. I didn't even know that. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool to even know that. You know, there's a small community of Solidity developers. So I'm glad to have one on the channel. So, you know, as a Solidity developer, you know, talking to like a crypto layperson like myself, you know, like how would you explain and define Dexes, and like talk to us about, you know, their importance like for any particular blockchain?
Okay, so decentralized exchanges are something very important for just about any blockchain, mostly because it is the root to all decentralized finance. And the reason that is because without a DEX, you can't go from one asset to another, and you can't do those sorts of transactions where you can end up staking and things like that. And so what decentralized exchanges are able to do that regular exchanges aren't able to do is, number one, is keep the assets of the users in their hands. So say I go and swap on ClassicSwap or Uniswap or something like that. I, at all times, have the assets. If for whatever reason the other asset is not available, the transaction will revert. So it's very safe, especially for those swapping, and also for liquidity providers. If the project is a legit project with a lot of liquidity and no enormous whales, it's very safe for liquidity providers, and thus it makes for a really good base for DeFi, not only for token staking, but staking the LP tokens for a specific token pair, liquidity pool pair, which we'll talk about more later for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, and I do have something lined up for that. But before we get into that, like talk to us. I know you kind of did, like, you've been had your eye on Ethereum Classic before, but out of all the blockchains, you know, even all the proof of work blockchains, like, why did you choose Ethereum Classic over the other ones?
Lots of reasons. Number one of all of them would be that it is a code is law blockchain. I love blockchains. I love how it all comes together, and it's really important for me to make sure that if somebody messes up their code, which is why ETC exists, somebody who wrote the code for the DAO that led to the split of the chain. If they made a mistake in their code, which allowed someone to come and not exploit it, because there was no hacking involved. It's just that there was an exploit in the code that somebody was able to use to their advantage. And for me, that's not a reason to rollback the blockchain at all. And I could never agree with anything like that. So I don't even see why ETC exists in the first place today. But the fact that it does gives me a big opportunity to create ClassicSwap.
Awesome answer. Donald Mcintyre, do you know who he is?
I love Donald Mcintyre. When I first came into the ETC community, I was like, oh, what is all this spam? Donald Mcintyre, blah, 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 saying all sorts of crazy stuff. But he grows on you, man. I won't lie to you. Donald Mcintyre grows on you. And, right, you know, I know his price predictions can be a little woozy sometimes, but I think that they might not be as crazy as it seems, especially with the so little development on ETC that I want to grow, starting with ClassicSwap. One of the main goals with ClassicSwap is to bring more developers from outside, from other blockchains, to come into ETC and build whatever it is they thought they could build on other chains, but here with lower fees, with a more reliable network, and especially with all the upgrades from the last few years, especially the messy one. There is very low chance that we're going to have another 51% attack. And usually if it does, it doesn't really spell the end of the world for the blockchain. And there's so much negativity towards ETC that I think that if changed all of a sudden could really change the whole dynamic of the cryptocurrency space.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
You know, there's some major, you know, like crypto channels out there. I'll mention here BitBoy Crypto, Cryptos R Us. They constantly like talk about Ethereum Classic. You know, they talk about the DAO attack, and you know they make it seem as if there's something built into Ethereum Classic code that caused the attack. But that's neither here nor there. That's getting to a wild tangent.
It's
Just to try to stay on track. You talked about, you know, like providing liquidity, you know, staking and farming. Can you kind of like talk us through like how that is so important for like, you know, these swapping and dexes like to even operate, you know, without there being
okay. So I'll tell you about how a dex operates, because it took me, the person I am who's creating ClassicSwap, many months to figure out how it all comes together. Right. But it's really, really interesting how it works. And I could, even I know that I can't make another Dex. I could not code all the solidity to do that. It would, I probably could, but it would take years. So it was a great job by whoever created Uniswap. And so how it works and what makes it so great is that instead of having a market where it's one person, that we have a buyer and we have a person who's a seller, with decentralized exchanges, it works completely different, but the outcome is exactly the same. So how it works is you have two types of people. You have swappers and you have liquidity providers. Now the liquidity providers will come with one amount of an asset and then another amount of another asset, and they will put them together, and that is what creates liquidity pools. So they have equal value of each asset, and that way if someone, which we involve the second type of person now, the swapper, will come and give one asset, and it will go into that liquidity pool of that asset, and we'll take some from the other one. And what that does is that it changes the amount, but it normally, if you didn't change the price of these two assets, there would be no equilibrium between these two assets. But because when that swap happens, the price changes, it instantly, through the decentralized exchange, equalizes and makes it so that the price is the equivalent of those two assets. And I think it really is the future of how markets are going to work, because you can't always expect a buyer and a seller to always come together. And so that's what decentralized exchanges are able to do, is really allow anybody with any kind of assets to come and go through with one another, and all sorts of different ways that you can make use of a DEX. And it's great for the DeFi space.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. So, you know I'm extremely bullish on Ethereum Classic. Okay, you know, that's mainly my channel. You know, so it's Ethereum Classic talk. But you know, I would be open to other blockchains bringing over their crypto to Ethereum Classic. So I guess my next question is, you know, I know you're building a DEX. Is there any integration with bridging that you're going to be incorporating to bridge like other blockchains to Ethereum Classic?
So one promise I did make when creating Expanse Cash was that I was going to bridge Expanse to the Ethereum Classic blockchain, mostly because we wanted to allow people who were on the EXP chain to have higher liquidity. And so we wanted to make sure that would work. And EXC, which is Expanse Cash, is getting older now, but it is a great project, and it still has a great future. And if we can open the eyes of not only, you know, Ethereum, but other blockchains such as Ethereum Classic to look into Expanse a little bit. I don't want to, I'm not as much of a maxi on the Expanse chain as I am for the Ethereum Classic chain, but I do want to help, especially the devs on the Expanse chain, because they have a great setup there. They're going to be right now, the proof of work, they're moving to proof of work POS hybrid sort of thing. I'm not so much for that hybrid, but I still think that they deserve a lot of some more recognition, as there's only a few hundred users over there. Their market cap is like $200,000. But I'm building ClassicSwap for Ethereum Classic, and that bridge will be the first bridge between Ethereum Classic and any other network, and then we're going to go from there. But yeah, as for bridges, we're definitely planning on making bridges in the future, but that's something we're really going to look at after the launch and all those hurdles that are going to come in between. You
heard it here first, guys. That's like big news, actually. You know, to be able to bridge other cryptocurrencies through Ethereum Classic. So, that brings in more volume, more people have eyes on Ethereum Classic. So that's excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
So, you talked about proof of stake. I guess this is kind of side question. Like, what
No worries.
do you, as far as proof of stake, are you bullish on it, or what do you see as the biggest difference between like proof of stake and proof of work?
Okay, so I don't know if it's just because of how I was raised in the cryptocurrency space, but I think that proof of stake, yes, it might improve some scalability, and yes, it might make more speed. But I think what it does is that it kills some of that decentralization that we get from proof of work, where anyone can mine as long as they have, a computer. And proof of stake generally, most of them have a setup where you need a minimum amount to stake, and what that creates is a lot of many less nodes. And for I think Matic or the Polygon network has something. I'm probably really wrong, but I know their nodes are a lot less than something like Ethereum Classic, where anyone can mine. And what that creates is less decentralization. And I also think that there's a lack of security in proof of stake. I don't have any specific reasons as to why, but like if you look at Solana, what happened with their chain where they had like that huge outage for like a day and a half. I was there. I was watching the whole thing. I was so surprised that the price did not completely dump. But it was all hype. It was a hype market. So, and it still is. Solana 245, maybe until the end of this bull run. But I think at the end of this bull run, it's not going to come back. Especially a lot of those POS solutions. That I think it's more of a fad than anything else right now. It's like the internet bubble. You would have all these weird technologies show up and then just die out when the whole thing collapses. I think it's the same thing, and I think proof of work has that ability to continue on and continue through decentralization and its top security, which is why I like Ethereum Classic, Litecoin. I don't have any other coins. Bitcoin, I like Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's a good cryptocurrency. I don't think that it's great for making transactions really, and so that's why I own a lot of Litecoin, because I know that it can be used for transactions. I use Litecoin every day for all sorts of transactions. Great website called Bitrefill. You go, you can send Litecoin. It takes 2 minutes, and you can get almost every single kind of gift card that you want. Like I have a coffee over here. Sorry, I bought this with cryptocurrency. So
awesome.
If you haven't checked that out, look out for it. So yeah, I'm big on proof of work systems.
Excellent answer. And especially you went over the fact that for most of these proof of stake blockchains, there's a minimum. So not anybody can just wake up and decide to join it. Or become a node on it, a node operator. They require hundreds of thousands of USD, even though we converted to crypto, and like you said, it centralizes. It only makes it where the rich can be the node operators. Like you said, for Ethereum Classic, I'm on some rinky-dink computer here, but if I wanted to, I could start trying to mine, with Ethereum Classic and be a part of it.
You're not going to get much, but you're going to get it. You're still a node operator, and you're still validating those transactions, and that's huge.
Right on. So, I guess this next question, this came from the community. Do you have like any insider information about like other Ethereum dApps that are thinking of migrating over to Ethereum Classic once they switch over to proof of stake?
I wouldn't say that I have any insider information. I know that once the proof of concept has been shown that DeFi can and will very easily and is better on ETC than it is on ETH or some other networks, I think that that's going to be a huge incentive for anyone who wants to create a project to come here. And I think we're going to make sure that we have all the tools ready to make sure that when they come here, they have, if they need some funding, we can help them with that. If they need anything that's crucial to making their DApp work, or like on audits, we might create something where we can audit other people's contracts just to make sure that because this is ETC, we're not rolling back the blockchain for anything. So we're gonna make sure that everything is as solid as possible. So I don't have any, I don't know of anyone that's coming for sure, but I know that there will be people coming and making DeFi. And we already see with ETC punks that, even not the most ludicrous project is going to get lots of attention here. And creating ClassicSwap, bringing that attention to ETC and having it's going to, parabolic type stuff. And ETC price will correlate with that 100%.
Love the answer. Love the answer. And shout out to ETC punks out there. I know they sold out of all 10,000 of their punks.
That's
out there,
amazing. So I never thought they would do that. I never thought they'd be able to sell all 10,000 either.
No, I thought they were going to be able to do it, but I didn't think it was going to be so quick. So I personally, I wanted to own one, but I didn't buy one. When I last seen it was at 2,800, and then poof, it was just gone. Just like that.
Exactly. That was like last night, and and then boom. Yep. The reason why that happened was mostly because there was a scarcity type thing going on where people would buy, and there was like, oh crap, we have to get some at 2 ETC. It disappeared, poof, just like that.
Very end, yeah.
Very last, yeah. It was great.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Let's see here. So, just talking about ClassicSwap, like I guess in the next year, where do you see yourselves at? If you take yourself next year, 2022, this same time frame, where do you see ClassicSwap?
I think that by 1 year from now, I think ClassicSwap is going to have a great launch. I think it's going to be very successful at launch, and I think it will grow slowly for a few months for sure. But if you've seen PancakeSwap and what happened with that is they launched and nothing. It was a great launch. They had a very successful launch, but nothing really happened until like 2, 3, 4 months later, and boom, it just exploded. And now, it's kind of come back down from that, but it's a very, people are using it on the daily. There are people staking. There are people doing all sorts of stuff on that ecosystem. There are lots of, excuse the language, but shit coins going on BSC, and it's really great to see that there's such a great, a DeFi ecospace there, even though they have had sort of a blow off top. And I think that 1 year from now, we will have seen if the same course of action does happen, that we will be in a place where everything is sustainable and we're growing slowly over time. And it is possible that 1 year from now that the bull run will be over. And I can tell you one thing is that I love cryptocurrency is my life. If it dies 99%, I don't care. I'm going to be here anyways. I'm going to be building, and eventually we're going to have another bull run. And guess who's going to be there, ready with their ClassicSwap, with their great ecosystem. And I think Donald Mcintyre is right about how ETC will be the future. But what he has failed to mention, in my opinion, is that we need DeFi to make that happen. And ClassicSwap is building the base to that. So I don't know exactly where I see ClassicSwap in 1 year from now, but I know that if launch goes well and that everything is working smoothly, that it will create a good ecosystem and a base layer for all sorts of transactions that might happen on ETC. So I think it's a long-term thing for sure.
Great answer. Great transition into I guess my next question. So I see the Medium article that you put out. So you have like the launches in phases. So do you have like any time frames for those phases that you can share?
So depends when this video is going to go up, but we are going to we're going to release the release date today, which we are planning to do to release on the 27th of December. We're planning on doing that around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone today on November 11th. So we're planning on releasing that on our Discord, on our social medias, along with the website, which has, if you really wanted to go see it, you could find out where to get how to get to it, but we're going to make that a big release, as well as the white paper, which is also coming out today. So it's a big day for ClassicSwap today, one of those big PR releases. So yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. I don't have a lot more questions. Let me just leave it open to you. Like, is there anything that you want to push out to like the ETC army? You know, I know Donald's going to watch this. I know a lot of people are going to watch this. So is there any, message you want to, speak to, the Ethereum Classic community?
I think so. I want to say that ClassicSwap is here to build a base for the future of all cryptocurrency. It might seem small. It might seem like an ETC Punks type of small project as of right now, but my goal is to take the ETC network, build on it, have a base on the ETC network, and have anyone who wants to come here and develop to help grow the DeFi ecosystem, which is not here right now, but I believe can be here in 6-7 months, a year. And it might be the one blockchain where all DeFi is going to happen for a long time. And we don't know, nobody really is sure of the future, but I think that it is important that someone comes here and decides, okay, we're going to make a change, because we haven't, that has not happened yet on ETC. And ETC Punks was the first step there, showing that there is viability here, and the low fees are really beneficial to a lot of people. And so we just want to build on that and let other people build on that. And we're ready, and I'm ready personally to help anyone who wants to show up here and say, okay, we're going to build something and it's going to help the future. And there's so many things, so many dApps and so many big institution things. Like Donald Mcintyre likes to say, especially when he mentioned me in the ETC Talk 3, he said that people like me, like entrepreneurs on the ETC chain, should be really looking into big institutional kind of dApps or programs. And nobody really knows what that is right now. But Donald, if you're watching this, I heard you, and yes, I'm going to be looking out for that. As soon as we launch, we're going to make sure we have a priority set straight. And so, yeah, that's what I have to say.
Awesome answers. This was an awesome discussion. We have Wedergarten here again, blockchain entrepreneur, lead developer of ClassicSwap, the first decentralized exchange on the Ethereum Classic blockchain. So we're going to be wrapping this up. Thank you guys for, sticking along. Hope you guys watch this. To you, I'm going to try to push this out as soon as possible. So we're going to see when that's going to go out. But any last words?
Thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. And it's a start of something big, and we're building history here, to be honest with you.
There you have it. Start of something big. It would be great to have, Donald and you have a discussion, you could probably facilitate that, but, that's neither here or there. So thank you guys again, and catch you in the next one. Peace.